Well, the United States presidential elections have heated up with Kamala Harris of the Democratic Party and Donald Trump of the Republican Party against each other to make their way to the White House.
And this is coming just before the elections, the 2024 Democratic National Convention that is all set to be held. Delegates from the Democratic Party that will gather to finalize the party platform and cast their votes to officially nominate Kamala Harris as the presidential nominee and her running mate Tim Walz for the vice president's post in the 2024 presidential elections.
So viewers, let's give you a little overview of who Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are. Kamala Harris, of course, as we know, is the 49th and the current vice president of the United States and is making headlines as she prepares for the 2024 presidential race. A prominent member of the Democratic Party, Harris made a history as the first female vice president in the United States history.
Now, before her vice presidency, she served as a U.S. Senator from California from the year 2017 to 2021.
To be with everyone this evening in this hall and everyone at home. This is going to be a great week. And I want to kick us off by celebrating our incredible President Joe Biden, who will be speaking later tonight. Joe, thank you for your historic leadership, for your lifetime of service to our nation, and for all you will continue to do. We are forever grateful to you. Thank you, Joe. And looking out at everyone tonight, I see the beauty of our great nation. People from every corner of our country and every walk of life are here, united by our shared vision for the future of our country. And this November, we will come together and declare with one voice, as one people, we are moving forward. With optimism, hope, and faith, so guided by our love of country, knowing we all have so much more in common than what separates us. Let us fight for the ideals we hold dear, and let us always remember, when we fight, we win. God bless you. God bless the United States of America. Good night, everyone.
Well, we have Catherine who's joining us from Chicago. Well, Catherine, good evening to you. Rather, it's 10 p.m. there where you're reporting from. But as far as this convention is concerned, Kamala Harris making announcement, Joe Biden giving his farewell speech. Of course, lots been expected this time because here they are going to be facing Donald Trump.
That's right. So this entire convention week is about making the case for Kamala Harris against Donald Trump. And the speech we're going to get from President Biden tonight is going to be a key piece of that. Reportedly, he is not going to be talking about his legacy, his decades career in public service, but about what Kamala Harris brings to the table, his vice president, and why he believes she is the only one, the most important one, who can beat Donald Trump.
Okay, all right. So what's expected today? You mentioned it's going to be the farewell speech of Joe Biden. He's going to officially hand it over to Kamala Harris. What's expected today in just a few hours from now?
So we will be hearing an intro from the First Lady, Dr. Jill Biden, who is expected to speak very warmly about her husband, the president. Then we will get that marquee speech from the president himself. And we've also heard from other Democrats this evening, former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who, of course, was the very first major party female nominee for the presidency. She, of course, lost to Donald Trump in 2016, but she talked a lot about how she put that first crack in the glass ceiling so that now Kamala Harris can shatter it and become the first female president of the United States.
Well, that would be historic, wouldn't it be, Catherine? Because that would also bring change when it comes to the politics in the presidency over the years that United States of America has witnessed. But tell us about, as far as prominent figures are also concerned, how they came and they endorsed Kamala Harris.
They did. So as I mentioned, we heard a lot from prominent Democrats. Tonight, we're going to be hearing from some very big names. Tomorrow night, former Democratic President Bill Clinton and former Democratic President Barack Obama, whose home city is Chicago, where this convention is being held. We'll also hear from his enormously popular wife, the former First Lady, Michelle Obama. Before we get to kind of the big traditional speeches that are a feature of any convention, the vice presidential nomination acceptance speech from Tim Walz. And then, of course, Thursday night, the big moment when Kamala Harris will have the biggest audience yet in the United States to talk about her candidacy and formally accept that nomination. That's going to be a really important part of her making her case to the American people that she is going to bring the country forward and, in her own words, keep things from going back. She always says in her campaign rallies, we are not going back.
In fact, in her speech, she also did say that let's fight for the values of America. So, you're live from Chicago, where the convention is taking place. Chicago itself is not a battleground state, but it's very close to Wisconsin and Michigan, which is going to be very, very crucial. So take us through what is expected and why these two are going to be battleground areas for Democrats.
That's absolutely right. You very correctly noted that Illinois isn't much of a battleground state where we are, but it is the largest city in the Midwestern United States, which is a very important part of strategy for both the Republicans and the Democrats. Democrats see the Midwestern states as a so-called blue wall, a key group of states that have to go Democrat, vote Democrat, in order to get to those 270 electoral college votes needed to win the presidency. So we can expect that this is not the last time Democrats are going to be campaigning in Milwaukee and Chicago, in all of these Midwestern states for the next 100 or so days that we have left in this election.
All right. The atmosphere seems to be electrifying as far as this convention is concerned. And of course, with the former First Lady Hillary Clinton also there speaking. Catherine, just request you to be on with us. Of course, she's taken a swipe at former U.S. President Donald Trump, but this time in the running. Let's listen in to what Hillary Clinton had to say.
Kamala has the character, experience, and vision to lead us forward. I know her heart and her integrity. We both got our start as young lawyers, helping children who were abused and neglected. That kind of work changes a person. Those kids stay with you. Kamala carries with her the hopes of every child affected, every family she helped, every community she served. So as president, she will always have our backs, and she will be a fighter for us. She will fight to lower costs for hardworking families, open the doors wide for good-paying jobs, and yes, she will restore abortion rights nationwide. As a prosecutor, Kamala locked up murderers and drug traffickers. She will never rest in defense of our freedom and safety. Donald Trump fell asleep at his own trial, and when he woke up, he made his own kind of history, the first person to run for president with 34 felony convictions. We also know, as Vice President, Kamala sat in the Situation Room and stood for America's values. I know what it takes, and I can tell you, as Commander-in-Chief, Kamala won't disrespect our military and our veterans. She won't be sending love letters to dictators. On her first day in court, Kamala said 5 words that still guide her. Kamala Harris, for the people. That is something that Donald Trump will never understand. So it is no surprise, is it, that he is lying about Kamala's record. He's mocking her name and her laugh. Sounds familiar. But we have him on the run now.
Well, Catherine, we're listening to all of that, especially what's happening there. And Hillary Clinton seems to be at the top of her game, especially when it comes to all the women power that all that's needed to be supporting Kamala Harris for the race.
Right. And what's really striking about what Clinton said there is that she drew parallels between her own experience as a lawyer helping disadvantaged children and Kamala Harris's experience as an attorney general, as a lawyer fighting for disadvantaged children. You know, when Hillary Clinton was a young woman, it wasn't common for a young woman to have a career of her own. And it really speaks to the changes in this nation in the time it took for one woman to be the presidential nominee. And now another woman is the presidential nominee, and it's accepted that she had that career. So we're really seeing history tonight here at the United Center.
Okay, so Catherine, what's going to be in the center of the battle between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump? Donald Trump, again, time and again, has been saying, make America great again. He has said this before. It resonated with the people. Kamala Harris also saying we are fighting for the values of the United States.
That's right. So his campaign slogan has always been, make America great again, harkening back to an earlier time in this nation that kind of calls back to family values, so-called traditional values that many voters in this country miss. And that is a contrast with Democrats who say that they are more forward-thinking, they want to move ahead, they want to bring this nation into the 21st century. And so we're really talking about two very different ways of life and perspectives on life when voters go to the polls this November.
Right. But Catherine, what is interesting now, you know, there are many still undecided voters there. But what has happened after that failed assassination bid on Donald Trump? Do you see a change in the wave, in the dimension there, especially when it comes to a lot of more work that now has to be done by the Democrats to actually put forth Kamala Harris as a contender, as a strong contender to take on Donald Trump?
Right. That's a fascinating question, because in any other normal election season, an assassination attempt on one of the nominees would have been the most memorable moment, the moment that changed everything. But we also know that there was another major shakeup in the campaign only a week or two later when President Biden decided to step aside in favor of Kamala Harris. So we don't have that discussion about the assassination attempt in this country anymore. It's all focused on the Democrats and this historic, unprecedented change in the way the nominees are presenting themselves at the convention. It's just, it's really an unusual election in this country that can't be underestimated.
Well, it would have been very different if it was something like that in India. I mean, the general elections have just happened this year alone, but it would have been a completely different scenario.
But we have a very interesting update coming in ahead of the U.S. presidential polls. There's a big hint that has come in from Donald Trump, who says that he is open to naming Elon Musk for a cabinet role. That's the tweet that has come in from Donald Trump, who says he's open to naming Elon Musk for a cabinet role.
Well, Catherine, what do you have to say on that? Because we've seen the interview on X that happened between the two giants, if we can call them, in their business industry, respectively. Elon Musk advising Donald Trump how that would be.
Well, I don't think it's surprising, given the close relationship between the two men, the interview that just happened earlier this week. It's something that Trump has always been drawn to. He's always been good on social media, known how to use it for his campaign. So reaching out to the owner of X, formerly known as Twitter, to offer him a cabinet position is not surprising at all. I don't know how much it'll sway voters whose minds are already made up about Elon Musk, whose minds are already made up about Donald Trump. I don't think it'll really resonate with undecided voters in this country who are concerned about the economy and other important issues. So I would not overestimate the impact of that announcement.
Well, I think one thing would be sure, Pratibha and I can agree on that Donald Trump this time may not get his handle banned, at least from X. Thank you very much for the moment, Catherine, for taking out your time, and good night. Thank you very much for joining in.
On that note,